And the main character here is JAX on the red team. So let's dive into the play.
We're not gonna watch the whole replay. Right? That's not.
Where's the play at?
Hello, everybody, and welcome. We are here at Pro and Poop. This is episode 1, and I am Valdes. With me is Bob Quinn, and what we are going to be doing here on this very lovely show is we are going to be taking some noobs off the ladder, and we're going to be judging them very harshly, very straightforward on whether or not we think they did the right thing or the wrong thing in this situation, based on the replay that we do see here.
I think it's going to be very fun. We got a lot of submissions of plays from Iron to Challenger, and we're going to find out if their plays are good or bad based on their claims.
Yeah, awesome. We do have a very special replay to start us off, so why don't we go ahead and take a look at the script and see what he thought about his play to begin with. All right, Bob Quinn, why don't you do us the honors and let us know what he has to say.
Alright, so the title of this one is PSA, you can TP into elise spiders. This is a platinum game. Hi, I've been a JAX main since season 2, a decade now, so I could say I know my way around top lane more or less. Around mid game, enemy jungle stole drag, while my team had barely had vision over the other lanes. Team got caught in a 4v5 team fight. I saw Poppy, enemy top, TPing, but I couldn't because my team didn't put a ward down for me to TP in. I managed to TP into elise spiders eventually and won the team fight somehow. I had a lot of gold, so I wanted to go back, because enemy team would come back real soon. But Elise insisted that I should take first mid turret. Since I've never joined team fights until 20-minute mark, I figured that if I back now, team might flame at me for not communicating. So I win, then me and my team got swept up one by one, and enemy team took Baron after. It was a very close game in terms of global gold. And I think it wasn't until our Bard stole second Baron with his Q that enemy team truly started tilting. But if my team had warded sooner, I feel like we could have won that team fight and take down mid tower without risk. Am I right? Damn, this guy, first of all, made it a little hard for me to read. But a very interesting backstory. I'm very excited to take a look at the replay.
I don't know, my initial impression is that he is a very typical top laner. You know, some of the things that he wrote in that script were kind of like passive aggressive, where he's like, you know, I hadn't joined for 20 minutes, so my team insisted that I, you know, do this. So I'm very, very curious to get into the replay. The question was, whose fault was this? My team not warding or me overextending? So I guess specifically about the initial play on him joining the team fight or not. So I guess we kind of know the situation. Let's take a look at the replay.
So this is in NA Platinum. So people are not complete noobs, but still pretty noob.
Okay.
And the main character here is JAX on the red team.
Yeah.
So let's see how he plays this one out. Top lane is kind of an island. They think kind of differently compared to the rest of the people. So let's dive into the play.
We're not gonna watch the whole replay. Right? That's not.
Where's the play at?
All right. We're getting it loaded up. This is it, maybe?
Oh, this must be the fight.
No, I don't think it's this one.
Wait, King's is still dragging here.
Oh wait, yeah, this is this one.
I think this is the fight.
Okay.
Alright.
So, Poppy TPs. There's
Poppy
a ward.
TP.
Elise has her spiders there for quite a while.
JAX finally comes in, tries to clean up.
And they actually win this team fight.
Ooh, JAX sole survivor of this fight.
Ezreal did quite a lot in that fight.
Ooh.
I was very impressed by
But they did lose the dragon to Kane.
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily Jax's fault, but
That's my
kind of
portion.
an
Yes.
interesting situation. And so
I
they're
think the question, yeah.
so they're pinging Jax. I don't see any pings.
I think the question was, he asked himself, was he overextending, or should he have TP'd sooner to the fight, or something like that. Well, either way, he did win the fight. But had he TP'd sooner, Ezreal might have lived. But in terms of smiting, I think that was just Elise losing the 50-50 there. Also,
Yeah, but like this second part where he's like staying in mid, I guess this isn't part of the question, but like during his scroll that he sent in, he was like, yeah, my team pinged me to stay mid, and so but he like stayed mid forever. He was there for like a full minute after the fight. I don't
that part
I
was...
don't believe that's Elise's ping's fault.
Personally. Staying to hit the tier 2 mid turret after Dragon was definitely a mistake, especially you have nowhere TP. They were very slow in tempo, and because of that, any team gets Baron. Should we quickly take a look at the question again? So this question was, whose fault was this? I think there's two parts to it. If we're talking about the dragon being stolen, that was not Jackson's fault. That was jungler missing the 50-50 smite. But I'd say it was definitely Jackson's fault for not TPing early. Had he TP'd early, his teammates would have possibly survived. More of them, especially Ezreal, who's like 1 HP dying to Zyre plant. And his second question was, my team not warding or me overextending? In terms of my team not warding, there was definitely elise spiders that he could have TP'd to. As a top laner, as someone that has TP, I think you should be very aware of the things you can TP to, even if there's no wards available. Him overextending there, that was kind of like a judgment call. But I think the team fight was unavoidable, so he had to TP there, and had to find a place to TP to, and join the fight as soon as possible.
I think the overextending part does actually refer to the push on mid, which was certainly Jax's fault. Like, you know, if I'm playing and my Elise pings me 6 times to stay mid, you know, taking the first mid turret, that's fine. You know, take that back, make sure you're ready for the next fight, but staying for that long and then like certainly
For
like
sure.
within the submission it was like, you know, I hadn't joined my team for 20 minutes, so like, and when she pinged me to stay, I didn't want to make them tilt. I'm like, well, just because Elise pinged you to stay, maybe she was only referring to you taking the first turret rather than like the entire lane and like staying over for a very, very long time. So definitely a bit of an overstay from the JAX. In terms of the TP, I feel like we need a slow-mo. We need to see like exactly when Elise's spiders come out, because
That's
I
true.
feel like they were out for a good 5 seconds before the JAX TP'd, but this was the title of the whole submission, is like PSA, you can TP to Elise's spiders, which he did eventually, but I'm curious about the timing, because that's the whole point of like top lane, is like you got to be ready to like TP, you got to be there when that fight is going to break out. I don't know, why don't you take a look at this and tell me like what you think about the timing of the TP, because I feel like, you know, if Elise's spiders were out there for a while, then he should have been able to get there.
Is this right before the dragon fight? Okay.
Okay,
Like
we need a slow-mo here.
21:47, they're starting the dragon.
So he could TP here.
He could definitely TP here, and it looks like the enemy team the blue team was ready to start the fight. Sometimes you get the dragon, you just back up. You don't actually need to team fight, but the blue team seemed very committed on team fighting this one, so he had to just be ready to TP. And the TP comes in at 22, which is 10 seconds too late, and 10 seconds can really change the outcome of a team fight. So I think the the TP definitely came slightly late. It was one of those like millisecond decisions that you had to make on the spot. But that's also the beauty of League of Legends. Everything is so micro. A split-second decision can change the entire outcome of the game.
And then definitely
then the spiders.
overextending.
Yeah, this is definitely just trolling.
Yeah. Yeah, would not like to see this. So for the TP on the spiders, Elise was in spider form when she was killing the dragon. So Kayn came in, stole the dragon, and used his ult onto Elise, in which point she went into human form. And then once the ult ended, she went back into spider form. He could have TP'd there, second time, onto the spiders. And then he didn't TP until the third time that the spiders came out. Which, as you pointed out, bobqin, that was like 10 seconds after the fight actually broke out. Also, he could have TP'd into the mid lane or the bottom lane. I'm not sure about exactly where the positioning of those lanes were, but I think there were a couple of minions where he could have like TP'd early and then he could have walked. But I understand not doing that because he didn't know 100% that the fight was going to break out. But in terms of the spiders, PSA, you can you can
definitely
TP on the spiders earlier. So what do you think, bobqin? Guilty? This is my hammer.
Well, in terms of failing to smite, it's not his fault for sure. I mean, they still won the team fight. Had he TP earlier, they would have won a lot harder. I mean, he did TP eventually, but just TP earlier. So I guess it's his fault.
I totally agree, and I think in this situation we really have to take into account his rank. Like if this was like silver or gold, I would be like, you know what? You TP'd in, that's good enough.
That's good enough.
You were there eventually, that's fine. But like I think platinum and above, I'm gonna be like, you had to be a bit crisper about the timing of the TP, and also I think the overextension in mid was a big deal because his team got massively behind from that after everybody died and they took Baron. So I'm gonna say guilty. Do we want to see the Baron Bard steal?
Yeah, we could take a look at the Baron steal just to see how they came back from the game after he kind of threw it by overextending it. I believe this was right after a team fight because JAX and Zillion are both dead. And Bard is sprinting over with his portals. Elise is very far away, so she won't be ready for this Baron steal. And Bard drops the ward. And just a simple Q steals the Baron. While Kayn has a smite up too, so...
Yeah, can we get red team vision? I'm curious if that ward actually...
It should give a little bit of vision, but not for long.
It does, but I think it was like 5 seconds. I don't know.
Was this a blind steal?
Maybe.
Oh my god.
No, that's blue team vision. So blue team didn't know. Blue team didn't know at all.
Okay.
Although he did ward, so...
A lot of people are guilty of this. Nobody on blue team warded to try to prevent the potential Baron steal coming in from Bard or Elise. That's number one. Number two, Kayn is drunk because he can't hit the smite.
Yeah, he doesn't have vision. He doesn't have vision of the health.
Oh my god, it was a blind steal too. That is even crazier. Blue team 100% deserves to lose.
Yeah, this is NA plat, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, they saw someone ward, so they knew someone was there. It could have been Elise. Like, it could have been the enemy jungle. It could have been anyone that was alive. And they were just like, you know what? I'm not gonna smite this. And then Bard stole it with blue, or Q. Which is hilarious because he put in the ward, so he saw like, oh, the Baron's getting low, so he could have like kind of timed it in his head, but there's no way that he should ever get that realistically. So shout out to Bard, main carry of red team. I'd be happy to have that guy in any of my games.
Maybe the blue team really trusted Kayn's ability to smite, but from my past 13 experience of playing League, never trust their jungler for smiting. Always set it up, drop a ward over it, make sure it's as safe as possible. It's always jungle's fault.
Regardless. We do have some data, so we can take a look at some of the data and see how he compared to some of the other top laners in his rank, just to see how his overall gameplay was, and maybe we can feel a little bit less guilty about the play at hand.
Alrighty here. We have a platinum average stats for top lane. Map awareness, vision score, I believe the one in the darker brown is JAX.
Yeah, player.
Wait, average and play. Okay, yeah. So on average, 16.65 is the platinum vision score for top laners, and he had 14, which is a little bit lower than average. That's all right. I don't think vision score matters too much for top laner, to be honest. And the second one is control wards purchase. Wow, average top laner in plat only buys 1 ward per game, and he bought 0. Respectable, because pink wards, control wards don't do damage. 1 ward difference. I don't think it would change the outcome of the game, but I'm surprised to see how little people buy wards in top lane in plat. I buy like 5 to 6 per game, but maybe I buy too much. But control wards save lives. But if you don't buy it, I get it. You know, they don't do damage. Ooh, it also says the average control ward purchased by other roles.
Yeah.
So support buys the most because that's their job, and then jungle because they're all over the map. And then mid lane, that's me. So I do buy a bunch myself, more than 1.6. And the 80 carries don't buy that much because you have to save all your money for your items. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like mid laners and top laners should have about the same, but I guess top laners are a little bit more selfish.
Was split pushing worth it? Average CS per minute.
So our JAX in that game averaged a CS number of 6.5 per minute. Pretty close to the average top laner, so I think he was doing a decent job. Was split pushing worth it? I think that really depends on the situation, the matchup. So he was playing against Poppy. I feel like Poppy can do a pretty decent job holding JAX off. So in terms of that, joining team fights might be better. Again, depends on the situation. Like if you're playing JAX into somebody that you 100% just stomp and beat, then split pushing is 100% worth it because your lead will just snowball bigger and bigger. But Poppy's a pretty difficult one to snowball off of.
How intense was the grind to plat 1? He played 303 matches of JAX in his 342 game climb to plat.
He's a real one trick, real dedicated JAX one trick.
Surprise! Surprise!
My only question is, why isn't he 100% of the time playing JAX? He should dodge whenever he doesn't get JAX. If you are a true one trick, but that's a discussion for another time, I think. All right, well, I think we have our first verdict. A guilty JAX. Well played, nice try, but definitely could have joined the team fight a little bit quicker. And definitely should not have pushed mid by himself for as long as he did. Any concluding thoughts, Bob Quinn?
I fully agree. If it wasn't for Bard, I think that game was probably lost.
Yeah.
And Ezreal popping off in team fights.
True. Ezreal did do a lot of damage in that team fight as well. Shout out to Bard. Great job. JAX, back to the books for you, and Diamond next season, perhaps. But that's going to conclude our first episode of Pro or Poop. Make sure to send in whatever kind of submissions you have from your games. If you think you were pro, or maybe if you think the Elise was poop, you can let us know and send in your submissions or your thoughts on the show. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Boom!